Here we don't have a ton on the itinerary, but there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, with the budget coming out, with the curve pool, with we have a lot of exciting stuff, and I'm sure there's a lot on people's minds. Publius, do you have a couple of things you might want to kick the meeting off with?
Sure. So the immediate item is that the Q1 budget was formally proposed on chain in the past 24 hours, and it started to get a decent amount of support. I don't recall exactly what it was. It's about 20% at the moment, and there was a little bit of pushback from some people on the amount, and a little bit of pushback by some people on the transparency of it. And just to respond to that, even though it seems like most of the people that raised those concerns are not here at the moment, the amount is largely a function of our expectations for the size of Beanstalk Farms over the next couple of months and how large it needs to be in order to deliver across a variety of really different projects and deliver really high quality work on all of them, and do it in a decentralized fashion. So the hope is to develop and train a set of long-term contributors, some in a full-time and some in part-time capacities. But in general, working back from around a dozen, full-time and 24 part-time contributors, that gets us pretty close to that number. And there's some wiggle room, with the hope being that the DAO can continue, Beanstalk Farms can continue to grow and isn't strapped for cash at the end of Q1, like Beanstalk Farms was at the end of Q4. Because of the small 200,000 bean allocation. And with regards to Bean Sprout, that number is a little bit less substantiated, candidly, but the hope is that there's a lot of flexibility to fund some cool stuff, so that hopefully some of it sticks. It remains to be seen what the killer app for beans or for stalker seeds will be, and as much as it's not good to talk in sort of, truisms or platitudes, maybe it's a better word. There's a lot of benefit to the ecosystem from funding some innovative ideas at the moment through something like Bean Sprout. And so the amount, 2 million, is around, a little over 2% of the current value of Beanstalk's market cap, and really a very small fraction of the implied valuation on the debt side, which recently crossed around $1 billion. And in short, we still think it's enough capital to allow Beanstalk Farms to execute decisively over the next couple of months, but it's an estimate. With regards to the transparency of the actions of Beanstalk Farms, there's regular updates of the Beanstalk Farms roadmap. The last update was around 7 weeks ago, and there should be another update at some point in the first couple weeks of the new year. And furthermore, a lot of the activity of Beanstalk Farms can be followed along in the Notion, which a large portion of it is just accessible to the public to view, because all of this is meant to happen in a welcoming and decentralized environment. So the hope is to continue to create processes that are widely transparent, and respectfully, we would say that most of the concern around lack of transparency of how Beanstalk Farms is doing or spending its money, is probably misguided at the moment. So other than that, with regards to commenting on concerns about the budget, there is a lot of exciting growth happening around Beanstalk Farms and happening just in general around Beanstalk, and the fact that beans continues to oscillate above and below $1, and certainly tighter to $1 is very exciting. There's been a lot of growth in the community and specifically the quality of contributors to Beanstalk. So we've been very excited to see an increase in commitments from individuals that we find are very impressive. We're very excited about what's going on in general. Don't want to talk too long as we kick this off, because this is meant to be more of a community discussion about the state of Beanstalk, and don't want to keep droning on. But that's a little bit about what's on our minds on the DAO front. It's generally all very exciting.
Great. No, I appreciate that. And especially on the bean sprout side of things, I'd like to bring up Mr. Manifold, who could maybe just introduce himself to anyone who hasn't chatted with him. I had the pleasure of a long chat with him yesterday, and I think he has a really great vision for Bean Sprout and where it's going to be headed. But also, it looks like we have a prophet on stage, Bean Prophet. Happy to the floor is widely open, so people can come up and bring up what's on their mind. And go ahead, Bean Prophet. Oh, we can't hear you, or I can't at least. You may have to set up your mic differently. Yeah, we lost our prophet. Okay. Oh. Well, once you get it set up, we'll get you going. Mr. Manifold, are you in a place where you can come up? Be an intern? Let's take Bean Intern, and then we can do Mr. Manifold.
I'm happy to wait if you like. I think I have a pretty convoluted question, so I'm happy for Mr. Manifold to go first. I was going to raise my hand, but I can't. I have to just jump up.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, that's true. Anyone can just jump up on stage the way this is set up, I believe. So go ahead, Mr. Manifold. And not to put you on the spot, but I just would like you to introduce yourself.
No, this is great. I feel like I've been listening to these down.
One thing, can you speak up a little bit? It's a little bit quiet on my end, or give us a quick test here. I don't want you to.
Is this better now?
That sounds much better. Go ahead.
Beautiful. No, I was just saying I've been listening to these DAO meetings for about a month now, and tried to kind of take within.
It's still a little hard to hear you again.
Yeah, your audio is a little spotty.
Okay, is this better? I just took my
much
AirPod.
better.
Okay, great. Yeah, excited to be here. Have had several calls with obviously you, Dumpling, Publius, and everybody kind of contributing within Beanstalk and Bean Sprout. George, I'm looking through the list here. I talked to Max earlier today. I've spoken to him with Bean Merchant, and really excited about the early community and team of contributors that's building around Beanstalk. Kind of a little bit about my journey. I've been involved in DeFi pretty deeply for the past 2 years, and have seen certain ecosystems really start to thrive in the stablecoin world in specific. I've mentioned Terra to on the conversations I've had with people, and I see a similar ecosystem we can build around beans and stalks and seeds and pods and the silos yields and all the cool stuff we always talk about. And so, with Bean Sprout, one of the things that I'm particularly focused on and would love to see come to fruition is one those killer apps that leverage all the cool aspects of Beanstalk and really drive user growth outside of the current community that we have and kind of give Beanstalk like this supplemental branch and arm that further helps us carry out and achieve our goals. So I know that's broad and there's a lot to dive into, but excited to be here and kind of hit next week running. And there's just a ton of exciting things going on. I mean, we just had the curve call, and that looks like we've got a really strategic way to go about that, and that's going to bode really well for peg stability and bringing in external dollars that currently aren't in Beanstalk today. And then we're talking to other teams as well for integrations, and yeah, incredibly happy to be here and excited for the opportunity and to work with like-minded people that all share the same goal. So thanks for bringing me up, Dumpling.
Of course, yeah. Thanks for coming up. Okay, Bean intern, your convoluted question.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's too convoluted actually. I was thinking about it a little bit more, but I just wanted to say, because I know I pushed back on the BIP, but I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I just push back on every BIP because I want to see how people respond to me. But my main thing is that I think, especially with some of the harder to quantify bits and pieces, I think just having really clear metrics for mainly, I guess, with marketing and some of the growth stuff. I think as long as there's sort of metrics and evaluation for how successful different campaigns have been, I think that will definitely ease, or even if there's requirements for a certain level of reporting of the success of how money is spent. I think that's the main thing that I have, I guess, issues with sometimes, is that it can be hard to quantify how much value we've gotten. And I know that's really difficult even in a traditional business sense, but I just with maximum reporting of how money is spent, and I know that can be pretty hard to say we made mistakes here and there, but I just think it's much stronger sort of moving forward to make sure that capital's spent in a really effective way rather than just kind of throwing it around.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that part of your question too, that I'm not sure we got to in the Discord, was how much was the Q4 marketing budget? That was one of your questions.
Yeah.
So that was in a BIP, one of the early BIPs, and Bean Merchant. I think I saw you're here. Bean Merchant. I believe that was the BIP that you were on. Can you come up on stage for a sec? And Publius, I think you can speak to it. I think was it 80,000 beans for the initial marketing budget?
The original marketing budget was 80,000 beans, correct? And just in terms of
if Bean Merchant can't, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can open up easily. Okay, so some of the things that the marketing budget have paid for, other than paying for Bean Merchant's labor, IPO and Chill's labor, and Hype's labor, is Dumpling's merch project. There was a revamp to the website, and the website designer was paid to do that. The NFT project was funded through the marketing budget this quarter, and then there's also a landing page video, which has not been finished yet, but is being developed, and that sort of covers the extent of the marketing budget for 2021.
Yeah, hectic. I guess what as long as there's some sort of system of public reporting, I guess, of I know the main issue I had, and this might just be a problem that just I have, but I think it could be useful for other people as well, is I'm across like a whole bunch of different projects and always kind of like jumping around in and out. And I think it would be awesome. Sometimes I just want to like sort of catch up on what's going on, and then it can be really good, I guess, to see like which projects money's been spent on and sort of things like that. I just think it'd be awesome to have it collated. So I guess that would be that would like answer, sort of quash most of my concerns. But yeah, as I mentioned before, when I sort of push back on a lot of the bips, I'm more just testing and getting questions answered, even though I know I can be a bit aggressive with the way I push back on it as well.
No, I think that it's actually it helped open up a conversation, and I think it often does. And then you balance it nicely with with your presence when you're actually speaking. So I appreciate that. But I think that you brought up a good idea, which is instead of someone having to search through, scroll through all the snapshots and see, okay, this person was hired, this came out of this budget, this came out of this budget. Having a document that just has a running, and this could be something that we utilize because a lot of things that aren't labor related are going to be going through Beansprout. So having a Beansprout, running ledger, basically saying here's what was spent on this, here's what was spent on this, here's we're starting with $800,000, here's here are the different things that they're being spent on. I think that's a good idea, and certainly be open to what Mr. Manifold and Publius and other members of the community have to say about that. But I think that kind of transparency seems very good to me. Is that kind of what you'd be after, being an intern?
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. And then I guess I know we were talking about this before as well, but it'd be pretty crazy. I know you were mentioning a poker tournament, and I think poker is something that a couple of, because I know Nasjack, you'd be in Bong Bears, in the Bong Bears Discord, they play poker often, and I brought this up briefly. I think it could be really funny if we organized a poker tournament, and then we'd have to come up with a good way, but basically to challenge other DAOs and say that, like, even if we're not better at poker than them, but just say that we're going to beat them, and then challenge a whole bunch of other DAOs at poker. Put forward some of our community members.
My money is on our DAO, candidly.
Well, the amount of econ and math people we have, I think so.
Yeah, like
especially when you can't read tells on online poker. I think it's great.
Yeah, but I think like, especially maybe we do a lot of the actual challenging. Like, I'm definitely happy to be tweeting at people for the kind of, I think maybe we have like a sort of quite polite invite, because I think we don't want to have like too much memey aggressive stuff like actually under the name of Beanstalk. So maybe we like have a couple of people from the DAO as our like people to shit post at other DAO members to rile them up to get them into wanting to like challenge us in this poker tournament. But yeah, I think that could make for a pretty interesting way to but yeah, I think because I know that Olympus has that sort of connection with poker, but I'm sure there's a few other people. And then ideally you want to like bring in some other DAOs that are competitive with each other. And I think we could come up with a sort of charity spin or something like that might entice them, or at least a sort of good for the whole protocol spin that can justify it, rather than it just being this sort of selfish
that idea's come up a couple of times, as if we could round it out by a little bit of charity, especially if we found a charity that was willing to play ball a little bit and accept sown beans. It would be once those beans harvest, we'd sort of get two pieces of news, right? We'd get the piece of news initially when we donated it, and then later when they harvested. I think it could be kind of a cool thing.
Imagine if as well we had it set up so that like a percentage is charitable. I'm trying to think of a way that it like forces like the DAOs to buy some of each other's tokens if
I was
certain ones
going to say actually
like imagine if it was like everyone had to sow, or like we agree we're going to buy a certain amount of whichever protocol wins.
What I was going to say is just if we made another way we could kind of incentivize other protocols is if one of the prizes was a little like 5 ohm, right, or 3 ohm or something. One of the prizes was we could have different prizes for different protocols, and then it would allow us to say that part of the prize pool is that token, but then have the number one prize be beans.
But Yeah, true. Yeah, I like that.
Well, we can discuss all these things in Farmer Dan is doing the is really going to be the one organizing it. So, but we can all have this discussion in the events tab. But I think that's very exciting. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty interesting. Yeah, I love that idea. I feel like I'm gonna jump down and let some other people speak because I can just absolutely speak forever.
Sure. AJ Dubs.
Hey, Dumpling. Is it premature to give more of a detailed update on the curve pool, or is that something that needs to adjust and talk about it a little later?
I'll let Publius speak to that. I was in the meeting, but I wasn't contributing a whole lot. I was really just a fly on the wall.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to speak in depth about kind of the overall kind of strategy with Curve without taking a significant portion of time. But we will try to formalize kind of an outline of our plan for the Curve rollout, and as well as kind of how that impacts Bean and the Bean token. But generally, the idea is, to first, launch a Curve pool that is unincentivized but can be accessed via the Bean website. Users will be able to trade through the pool and deposit liquidity on the pool. And then kind of once we have that out, kind of start down two different separate paths. One of giving the Bean3 Curve pool and the Bean token integrated into the Curve ecosystem, and one to get Curve integrated into Beanstalk. So kind of as we go down the route of getting Bean integrated into the Curve ecosystem, what this entails is, first off, getting a proposal passed to get Gauge, and the ability to add Gauge to the Bean3 Curve pool, and then, kind of internally working on ways to build Gauge through getting a voting share of Curve. The second way that we're going to work on that is, allowing Curve liquidity to be deposited into the silo and earn rewards the same way that Uniswap LP earns rewards. On top of that, once we're there, we can allow users to convert to and from the Curve pool, as well as Beanstalk to earn the Gauge rewards associated with that LP and start to build a voting share itself in the Curve Gauge voting. So, there's kind of a lot there and a lot of different pieces that, it might be better to break it down in an article and then discuss it in class. But that's kind of a short summary.
Okay, super cool. Thank you so much.
I'm going to leave the floor open for a bit. I think other people might have questions, and I have a couple of ideas for other people who could come up and share a few things. But if there's any questions or things people want to bring up, I think this is a good time. Hey, what's up, Ariel?
So this isn't really, I don't really have anything in particular to like give an update on that I didn't already in the stand-up, but this is sort of just like a shout to the community. So one thing that I'm focusing on is trying to figure out how we can most effectively explain Beanstalk to non-advanced users over the next 6 months. So what would be really helpful is if when any of you are explaining Beanstalk to like your non-degen, like DeFi degen friends, like where the hangups in the explanation are, like what pieces of the explanation like are not really resonating, where it feels like we're just like we don't really like quite have the language or the phrasing that is like getting through to them. So if you come across like any of those snags, like it would be super helpful if you could shoot me a DM and just outline like what exactly wasn't working, like what seems to resonate with like newcomers really well. So that'd be really good just from a marketing and messaging standpoint.
That's such a good point, Ariel, and I'm going to call this Ariel's focus group. Hashrash and J-Man, do you guys have any ideas on this?
Yeah, so I kind of had a few things connecting to stuff that had been said in the stuff that Ariel said and then that had previously been said. Um, it seems that there's a large focus on kind of better communicating a lot of different things, whether that's communicating to people who don't really have any crypto experience, or better communicating to the community on things going on with the DAO. And I was wondering if it would maybe be a good idea to create newsletters, both like an internal newsletter and like an external newsletter, because we have a sort of a lot of information about like what's going on either within the DAO or information about Beanstalk in general for new people. But I was thinking that maybe if we had like a newsletter that there's one specific place or one specific source each week that people could kind of check for updates and what's going on with Beanstalk. That might help kind of streamline the places people have to look just for like a if they're trying to catch back up on Beanstalk, or if they're a new person that wanted to learn about Beanstalk, they could look through the newsletter or go to the Gitbook or something like that. And so it would help both marketing to new people with the external newsletter and then helping DAO members kind of stay updated. And Austin just hopped up, but I guess I was kind of I got this idea from the notes that Austin always puts out from all of our meetings. That's kind of like a great way to have like that's basically most of what I would think of we want in kind of an internal newsletter, along maybe with like information about newly funded Beansprout projects or something along those lines.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate that. We'll go through folks. Hashrash, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it may be a little bit difficult for some people to understand the stock and the seed mechanics. So I was thinking maybe having like office hours in the Discord where new people come in and they have a way to, speak to somebody and get clarity and hopefully get them to convert to understand the protocol. I don't know if that's something that has been discussed with like a community manager.
Yeah, it has. And maybe even short of having a community manager, maybe just having people. The original vision behind having the classes was kind of that, in
Right.
people having stupid questions, small questions. The classes have turned into something really great, I think, but it's usually turned into a little bit more nitty gritty and like high level stuff. Yeah, more sophisticated. Exactly.
Right.
So I think that if we took some people and almost like had a little bit of a test, right? Or we could, I don't know how we would qualify people as sort of like TAs, right? And the TAs could hold office hours. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I love it. But let's we'll have to figure out a way to make sure that it's not the people are qualified to answer the questions, but I think that if they are, it could be a really good idea, because if a real newcomer comes to class, they may or may not at this point be able to get their questions answered, right? So I think that's a good idea.
Actually, jumping on that note, I mean, we talked about this actually, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, when we were talking about like graduating classes from one level to the other. What we could do is, for a few of us that have been around here for a couple of months, we could just do sporadic, maybe even like a daily or every other day, 15-minute session that Hashrash is talking about, where we can just sign up to say like, look, I'll take 15 minutes this day, I'll take 15 minutes this day, and then we just share with the broader community what those are, and we can make them, again, Publius, obviously if you have the time, but obviously know that your time is much more limited, but have like the shorter, smaller sessions where those kinds of things can come up, Hashrash, and then that way I think it would be able to address it in much more real time, like kind of like the Twitter Spaces, but almost like just for classes. And again, maybe for those of us that have been here for a while, we can just sign up for like 15-minute slots once a day, and let those could be like a standing time frame that people could jump in should they have questions.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it's very important for anybody new that joins Discord, to get quality answers and to understand, right? We want that conversion. We want to convert them. Do we have any statistics of, active Discord users? I know there's 1,840 people that joined the Discord. Do we know how many people connected their wallets? Do we have that number anywhere?
I don't have that data, but I think that some of those things are gettable through Discord. We could work on getting that. It would be nice to know, a little bit more details about who we're getting, who we're losing, all that kind of thing. But overall, just having it would make us a lot stickier if we had, like, if the barnyard, if we just not always had someone in the barnyard, but always from in the evenings when people are on Discord, or if we could have people in there, if we could fill an hour a day with with some sort of teachers, that could be really good.
Also, just want to jump in here. I think it's kind of hard to predict when people are gonna have interest and want to ask questions. But an easy solution there, I think, is with the shepherds. We all know who the shepherds are. If you see somebody new in there and you don't feel qualified to answer a question, why don't we just tag the shepherds and say, "What do you think, being an intern?" Or what, tag all of them, and then maybe one of them can respond pretty quickly. Just a thought.
Yeah, that works for text. As far as for people who feel like they need it sort of chatted through, then that would be where we'd have the sort of office hours for. But I definitely agree with that. If we could just direct, because often people are going to ask questions instead of.
Yeah, I think Dumpling didn't.
It'd be really good as well. I keep pushing for them, and I don't know if we have been doing them. And
let's do JW first, and then we'll get to you, BeaNFT.
Yeah.
Just quickly, I think we actually added the scholars tag for that exact reason, similar to what James Bean was saying. So yeah, maybe we can do that. But then I agree, the standing where people can come in and talk, I think, because people sometimes can just feel more comfortable that way. But if there's a way that we can set it up that we could tag the scholars, that would be really helpful as well.
I think so. Yeah, we need a little more clarity on what scholars is, and because right now scholars are kind of acting more as like mods, and we need to have people who, anyway, we can work on that later. But yes, that's a good idea, and we need a little more clarity on that. Once we have a specific tag for that person, then we can always tag those people when we need to answer a specific question. Be an intern.
I was just going to say, have we been doing any like regular Twitter spaces? I'm not sure if they've just been in times that I'm missing, or it's not something that's sort of continued. But it'd be good to get, like, I think Twitter spaces as well could be a good opportunity to answer some of those small, dumb questions. Wait, sorry, some background noise coming through a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. We have been doing them about once a week, and IPO and Chill and Hype Bay have been leading those. There was one that was missed this week just because it would have fell on like Christmas Day or something. So the next one's going to be next week.
Okay,
and I would really like them to get up to 2 a week, because they've been really successful.
Yeah, what sort of time do you guys do them? Is there a set time, or is it just randomly sort of?
Yeah, so far they've been a bit random. I think they should have more of a set time. They've been available more. Like one of them was on a Saturday at like 11 a.m. Pacific, I think, so kind of midday Eastern, and then another one was I think like 5 o'clock or so. It wasn't, so I think we should try for more of the evening, because that's when Twitter Spaces tend to be more popular. But that's something we can refine as we go. Or do you think at a consistent time similar to these like town hall meetings would be good?
Somewhat. Yeah, I think that could be. That would just make it a lot easier for me, is the main thing. And I think if people can sort of plan around it, because ideally we'd want anyone that is in the Beanstalk community that has a decent Twitter following jumping into them. Even if you're not going to like be super active, at least jump in, because then like your sort of followers can see that it's popping up there. Because I just think because it's new and lots of people are engaging with Twitter Spaces a lot at the moment. It's like a crazy, cheap, effective market. Like even if they don't join, they're just going to see Beanstalk Q&A at the top of their Twitter. And I think we've got quite a few people with a decent amount of following, and it's like really targeted because it's going to be everyone that's in like crypto Twitter. But yeah, so I definitely think that's a really good way to get out.
Why don't I add you? I'm going to add you to the DM with the Twitter Spaces so that you can share your ideas in there. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, easy. Thank you.
And I totally agree that if you have someone with a lot of followers, we have some ideas with cross promotion with Olympus and with different places that might have. So yeah, totally good. There's a couple people who've been up here for a little bit who haven't had a chance to speak. Austin and Bernoulli, I'd like to get in. Austin, did you have anything?
Sure. Yeah, I guess we're doing this a little bit out of order, but I came up whenever J-Man was talking about the newsletter. I was curious, like, kind of on your thoughts on like the notes today. Is the main thing that you would like to subscribe to an email newsletter, or I'd be curious to hear from, everyone here in terms of, I mean, maybe the low-hanging fruit is really we could just have the Notion and last week's AMA notes and DAO meeting notes added to the weekly updates and Start Here channels, and that would probably go a long way in terms of onboarding new members. But I'm curious if folks are having a hard time keeping up with things happening in the DAO and the like, and how I can help out with that.
I'll let others speak to that because
I think Austin, you and I actually talked about this before. So I do think like doing like a TLDR at the top of it or something like that with like the 5 bullet points, and then maybe even just, I don't know the date of it, but like kind of key takeaways at the top of it, I think would be really advantageous. I think we're all in agreement that the notes that you put together are fantastic. But I just think it's hard because if someone's jumping into it and they see like a long string of it, it's just a lot to digest. So if they've got 3 to 5 things to just as the takeaway, and then I don't know if that works then as like the newsletter. But to your point just now of like emails or something like that, J-Man Force, I don't know if you have any thoughts, but obviously we're not doing any kind of an email list. So I think sending some kind of an update that way would be a little tough, other than providing like the updates in the Discord or on the Notion. I'm not sure how else we would disseminate it.
Yeah, I was really thinking, for like a Discord or a Notion updates for the internal part, just because I understand that not everyone wants to put their email out there or anything.
Yeah, maybe we can start there then with updating the weekly updates channel with last week's notes, and yeah, I'm more than happy to add a recap at the top of each, and that's definitely very straightforward. And I agree, we'll definitely help out with folks who have less context on kind of the day-to-day happenings.
It might be nice also to get these things tweeted out there. I don't know how we could achieve that, but we have so much going on and so much to kind of brag about, honestly, that it'd be nice to get some of that out there from the official Beanstalk Twitter or from other people's Twitters that we could all retweet, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm not line of thinking it might be better just to do like a PDF that can be distributed.
I don't know if anybody has seen the Agora dispatch from Olympus, but that does a really good job summarizing everything that's going on in Olympus, and I probably have way more than we got. But if anybody had the chance to take a look at that, maybe do something like that.
Yeah, also, I think Aave does a really good job with sort of their weekly update, where they include both sort of a recap of like the financial market as well as some of the technical developments that they've been doing, and then they post that in their forum, as well as making it into a PDF that they can distribute.
Hashrash and George, would you guys mind just dropping like examples of those PDFs, like either? Well, I think it's okay to put it in the general, or even just fire over a DM or something like that. It'd be great to see it.
Yeah, I'd be curious if folks are distributing the PDFs on Twitter and things like that. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot to copy in terms of good practices.
I mean, Austin, if you want, you and I can regroup on this. I know we kind of kindled that fire about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think I just got very focused on the NFT stuff, but I think it's something you and I could pick up pretty quickly if it's in any way helpful.
For sure.
And maybe include George and Hashrash because they have some ideas too. I think if you forward made a little working group on that could be really good.
Yep, we'll do it right now.
Bernoulli?
Yeah, just wanted to
also love your bean, Bernoulli.
Thank you. Yeah, very, very happy to have finally joined the club. Was able to find low enough gas. But wanted, since with all the talk of newsletters and such, wanted to share this one idea that has kind of been percolating a bit from first conversations with Dumpling and Publius. but I've also been talking to 0x7 a little bit about it. But I was able to secure the Bean Economist Twitter handle. And one kind of idea we had there is like just a weekly update on the economic performance of Bean. So, summary stats on peg adherence, debt cleared and issued, new beans minted, things like that. But I just wanted to flag that was something that I was starting to work on, and wanted to start to make posts from that account, and eventually sort of create a formalized report kind of on a weekly basis. And that's something we might want to fold into the newsletter, to include both in the newsletter and in sort of a separate Twitter account, so people can react to the individual statistics. So wanted to throw out the idea there to see if it's relevant for the discussion of the newsletter, and also just if anybody has idea for interesting summary stats or visualizations, would always love to hear them.
I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, I'll throw you into the mix.
I feel like we're all in Zugzwang in a chess game or something. TB 456, 3456. Your mic might not be on. Okay, well, the floor is open.
Maybe we could get Hugh up here to talk a little bit about the structuring of the DAO.
Yes, absolutely. Hugh, are you available to come up?
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. I can give a quick status update on the work that I've been doing in the background, and then like open for questions if there are any. But yeah, like there's been a lot of stuff happening into like that wouldn't have been seen by anyone, but it's like just like a big part of it is revamping our Notion and Discord for the DAO opening. That's that we're trying to get launched kind of officially mid-January. So I think like we're actually really on track and potentially can launch earlier. And I think some of the engineering team, maybe it's like the front end engineering team, is actually already getting set up on the tools. So that's like really, really good to see. In terms of what's been built, like from the Notion side, all of the databases have been set up, the department level pages have been set up, and then a variety of like miscellaneous databases have been set up. For example, like a CRM for partnerships, and like various other templates. And that's like mostly for the Notion side. And on the Discord side, it's we're like just getting started working on this, and like what I've just done this morning is set up like the recruitment forms that integrate with Notion. So that's looking pretty good. And the main next steps for me or for our team will be like getting all the other department leads onboarded onto the system. There's a lot of stuff that has to be ported over from the old Notion pages into the new one, so that just has to happen in the background. I'll be working with the other department leads to get that set up appropriately. I want to record a series of video explainers so that people can get up to speed really quickly. I've already written kind of like an article on the structure, which I will be sharing at some point in the near future, like in the next week or so. But I want to supplement that with videos because everyone likes videos, and it's more likely that you'll watch a video than read a long article. I also want to send out comms to describe all the updates and changes, and then work with the team to get everything ready for launch. So that's basically my update. Yeah.
Hugh took us through it, and it's everything you've done. He was very beautiful and so much more organized, and we just love it. So very excited to see your continued work on that, and it's so appreciated. So that's going to be great to keep us organized and to have some really good workflows and everything. So that's really, really great. And I'm excited to see what you do with Discord because I think everyone knows, and there's been some chat, that it's getting a little bit, it's getting a little bit difficult to find what you're looking for. A little bit, it's kind of growing a bit like a cancer. So it's good to get it tame and organized. So appreciate that.
No worries.
We have someone else just jump up here.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I was trying to figure out my mic. Since you were talking about just onboarding people, what I've noticed is there is less kind of like visual training on how to kind of work with Beanstalk and what Beanstalk is. And I think that's what maybe Hugh was referring to is, and I guess the idea that I was trying to suggest is maybe have like a mini course on a platform like Teachable or Udemy, like a 25 to 30-minute short course, which has like short lessons, 5 minutes each. One covers the silo, the other covers the field, kind of thing. I mean, I would do it if I was qualified enough to do a Beanstalk course, but I think it might be a cool idea, especially because a lot of developers also hang out. A lot of technical people hang out at these platforms. It can also be like a marketing thing because new people would discover us on these platforms. So I don't know what we think, but I think that some kind of visual medium to explain Beanstalk in a structured format might be nice, especially because a lot of the questions are very repetitive. I feel like that come on Discord. Yeah, that's it.
Sure. No, I think that's a great idea. It's to clarify a little bit, what Hugh was talking about was more for internal stuff. So people who are coming on, who are coming on to use the Notion to figure out, exactly how to use different parts and have, what best practices are and that sort of thing internally. But I think that that really sounds like a very nice idea. It'd be amazing if we have it. I guess the question is that where we want to, expend resources, or do we want to try to pick lower hanging fruit first? I think would be the question. But this would be the exact sort of project that could be proposed and could be done through Beansprout. So I think that's something that certainly could be done.
Yep, sounds good. I mean, I'd be happy to help anybody. I do online courses for a living, so if anybody's thinking about it, I'm happy to help formulate that. And to me, one more point it kind of brings forth is discovery. And when you do discover, let's say, Beanstalk, and one thing I've been working on is SEO, which is basically people discovering us through search. And I've noticed that, like in SEO, one thing is that you've got to have some content on your website which explains. And I know we are kind of doing it off website. We're kind of doing it on Medium and different places. So when you go to the about page of the website, for example, there's not a whole lot to kind of describe what Beanstalk is. So I don't know who thinks about that, but I think that's one more thing, that's just the content of the website describing what Beanstalk does might be helpful. And I think right now it's kind of structured mostly for very crypto, very DeFi people, because everybody's going to run to the white paper. So I don't know, that's just one more thing I wanted to bring up, but that's it. Thank you.
So on that front, we've definitely been interested in creating a landing page on the Bean Money website. And, Wolfie is still working on, a video, kind of intro explainer video that will be, the focal point of that kind of landing page. We have a landing page in the works, and, we should probably expedite the process of getting the language and copy of that site ready to go.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That said, we kind of have a draft page. The copy just kind of needs to be worked out. So if anyone is kind of interested in taking on, drafting the language for the landing page, that would.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help with that. Dumpling, just let me know.
Yeah, and same. I'm happy to work with TB on that. That's a lot of the full-time focus for me on Web2 stuff right now.
Okay, great. And one thing I wanted to bring up is TB. I know that for SEO, sometimes people, if there's a blog associated with a website, like if you sort of wrap the blog within the URL, that can really help for SEO. Is that true in your experience, or is that something like, should we continue to use Notion, or should we try to have an internal blog? Or I just wanted to, we can chat about that offline too, but I'd just be interested in your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to mention that, but I felt like I didn't want to, propose a change that's like too drastic. But it definitely, if you look at it, some of the other crypto websites, they have a blog, and even stable coins. A blog post as simple as like, what is an algorithmic stable coin, and it's on a Bean.money website, and it starts ranking. I mean, that's going to get us a ton of traffic. So that's definitely a best practice. And so I don't know how to bridge the gap between all the content we have on Medium, and our Medium does rank, and I've seen it, but it doesn't rank as high. So if we are open to thinking about having a blog associated with our own website on our own domain, I think that's going to help a ton in the long term in getting search traffic.
And jumping on that note, there's a ton of other content we could add and migrate over to the site to help with crawling and help with SEO ranking in general, for sure.
Okay, yeah, I think these are good things to discuss and think about especially as we build the site and we have the landing page. It seems like those are things we could incorporate to that, but we can leave that for now. But I think that's great. Hashrash, your mic was open. Do you have something to say?
I was going to say that since we're talking about the site, it's super helpful to expand specific sections of the website to get detailed explanation of what, as an example, silo is. Was thinking, would it make sense to add like a link to a video explaining that section? So you would have links in the descriptive section of the feature, and that will also take you to a video that explaining it. Does that make sense?
Well, at this point, we don't have those videos, but if we did, that could be an option. Are you suggesting like short little 1 minute videos explaining and would those be hosted on the site, or would this be like linked to something to YouTube or somewhere else?
There can be embedded YouTube links.
Okay.
And get the content out into YouTube as well.
You're thinking like when you expand from Bean Money, if you like, what is the field? That would be in the drop down, and then there'd be a video beneath the text explanation.
Could be. I mean, I don't know how that would look on a website, but possibly.
Okay, that's something to think about. I think definitely more video content is great, and if I think this would be a good first Bean Sprout project is people who who really want to walk through and now we'll have to see what the Wolfie video has. We don't want to duplicate effort, but smaller videos explaining individual portions of Beanstalk seem like that could be a really effective thing for sure. Trying to think of the best use of our next 4 or 5 minutes here. Does anyone on stage have anything else to say?
I was just going to say, could make use of the MetaBean for educational stuff. I don't know how many people have seen the Gather Town.
You're kind of cutting in and out. MetaBean?
Hello? Can you hear me more clearly now? Is it? I don't know if it's my connection. Yeah, okay, so I was sitting a bit far away from my computer. Hugh, ages ago, like super early Beanstalk, made like a gather town space where you can actually interact with different parts of the protocol. And I think it could be really interesting to put, you could sort of put little educational signs and things to read about, to explain different parts of the protocol in there, and then we could just have it up as a thing that people can wander around in to learn.
There was just to echo that, there was a, I think it was Redacted. They had like a community engagement event. I'll find the link to it. But it was a GatherTown map that they had created, and it was one of the most immersive kind of like metaverse experiences I've had. It blew our meta bean
you're
out
cutting out. You're cutting.
Yeah,
I can actually.
I think it's just your Wi-Fi being intern.
Yeah. Anyway, like it was so much more immersive than the meta bean, but I mean, we had a lot of fun putting that together, and there's some pretty cool integrations. Like one of the things you can do is you can like put these like embedded browsers everywhere in the map. So you can put one in like a little graphical computer, like a little computer thing in the map, and you click on it and it opens a browser. But one of the coolest things is that you can interact with MetaMask through the browser within GatherTown. And so we have this thing set up where you can go to a computer and then like interact with Bean.money through MetaMask within the MetaBean. So it's fantastic, but you can extend that very easily to adding educational resources, as you say, or like hosting town halls or a whole bunch of other things. So yeah,
This
some
sounds
ideas.
so cool. It sounds so cool. I had this idea of trying to have our meetings early on. I had this idea of like having them like in a barn where we could like be like sitting on bales of hay and like us and our beans. And I thought that's something that would have to happen in like, a year from now or something. But if you can make that happen, but even better than that would be what you said, like walk around like a digital farm, right? And like go to the silo and like learn about the silo at the silo, like go to the field and learn about, that sounds amazing to me.
I'm almost tempted to show you if anyone has like, oh, it's only 1 minute left. Maybe I'll just share some screenshots.
No, but we don't. I mean, there's no hard stop here. I'd be really.
Let's do
I
it.
think other people probably would too.
MetaBean reveal.
Unfortunately, I can't share my screen on this thing. It doesn't look.
I wonder if I can give you permission or something.
Dumpling, I think on the stage you're not able to share screen.
How about this? How about we all we go to people who want to see this?
Back to barnyard.
Now we could, back to the barnyard, and let's go to this. Let's watch it.
Everyone walk on over.
Back from whence we came.
Just to like talking about a Discord bloat, we have a lot of different voice channels. I was like lost looking for a meeting, and I just joined the wrong one and was sitting in there on my own for ages without realizing that I was missing out on a call.
Yeah, that happens to me too. We do a bad Discord bloat. I just find myself scrolling and scrolling. We have to.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone noticed, but I made like an archive section and started dragging channels we didn't need down there. So you can actually drag other channels you want to temporarily. I thought it's better to have it there just in case we don't want to completely delete them. But then didn't want to do too many crazy things. I just did the farmhouse and the bean recipes because it was pretty unanimous that we don't use them anymore. But yeah, please move other channels down there.
Cool.
Now,
Okay, so
Hugh, you're actually working on before we get too crazy, changing our Discord around. You're working on it, right?
I am. So there's like there's
so let's let Hugh do it. And sorry, being intern, I agree with you, but Hugh's gonna do it. So let's have one person in charge. Okay, let's see this.
Okay, cool. Let me just share my screen. So Yeah, like a bit of story. So like being intern myself and I actually can't remember what his nickname is, but one other guy called Liam. We got together and basically like joined this gather town as just a way to hang out during COVID, and we drew this town plan because we wanted to create like a bean metaverse, and so we have like the field for sowing, we've got the silo, we've got the market, and we've got the Great Hall. And you know, this is just like our town plan, but then if I like exit out of this, I'll show you what it actually looks like. This is the market that I'm sitting in, and so you can have like these whiteboards and signs that display certain information, and these computer terminals where you can open the browser. But I'll just give you like the quick tour if I walk around here. So you can come through here, and this is the Great Hall. This is where we meet to discuss bean-related matters. And you can come in here and basically like stand at the podium, and then you're now broadcasting to the whole room. And you can imagine like everyone's sitting here and listening, and basically like we do on Discord, but it's more of a like a like a metaverse experience. And if I go over here, this is the field where you can get sewing. And as I said, like I can click X on this computer terminal, and it's going to open up the web app. And then once this loads, you can see that my wallet's connected, and then I can go through and basically like do stuff here. So if I click this, what it's going to do, I'm not sure if you can see the pop-up, but it's going to like pop up MetaMask, and I'll be able to deposit LP or convert bean or whatever it is. Like this is all kind of like
much better. Yeah, I didn't like that either. I noticed that too. I didn't want to add more.
Aaron, can you yourself?
Sorry, so anyway, that's like kind of the main thing there, and you can come across, and we've got the same thing for the silo. We've just represented it with a whole bunch of barrels.
I love it. This is so cool.
Yeah, and what we really wanted, like we had this vision when we first started this, like we wanted to have this, the beanstalk as like a dynamic object that could grow based on like the size of the protocol or some other metric. But yeah, like we didn't get around to sort of fully fleshing this out. And the last thing here is the Mead and Beer Tavern. It's just like a stupid space that, you could kind of like come and socialize. Or you can take your meetings here, for example. Anyway, that's kind of the tour.
I love this so much.
Yeah,
I want to change.
This is so
I'm going to change the town hall to the Great Hall. First off, we now have Great Hall meetings.
Well, you see, the great thing is, right, like because you can embed like any browser, right, or any website, you can, if you've got a poker game on a website like poker.com or whatever it would be, then all you need to do is just have it linked to the terminal that you're playing on, and then people can play on it, right?
What I was basically thinking in the future, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, is that we start putting all of the videos and everything in there as well.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this is back in before BIP 2. This was like just after BIP 1, I think. And we like put this as a proposal, but we never actually did anything with it.
I love the idea of the beanstalk growing somewhere, getting bigger and bigger. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, when we were trying to figure out ways of like expanding the NFT space too, like I was definitely looking into Gather Town a little bit, but this is so fantastic.
Yeah, so I want to find there was like another one, but I'll have to find it anyway. It's like there was another one that I think it was Redacted did, and it's so worth having a look at. It's a lot of fun. And there were all of these like Easter eggs everywhere. Some phenomenal work, but and I don't know how they did it. And they must have worked with GatherTown to build it because it was so complex. But yeah, it was a lot of fun and got so many people on Twitter like sharing like screenshots, and yeah, it was a really big thing for Redacted.
Yeah, I already
Hugh,
took some screenshots, and I'm going to share them on Twitter of just you doing that.
that's
So
true.
I can totally see that.
Hugh, that would be so clutch for us in terms of socializing and making it like the educational accessible and stuff like that. I mean, I think like that's something I know something you and I have talked about in the past, but like there was a playfulness to the site when it was kind of the long scroll in the past, and as a result, like it almost had this like gamification feel, but like that obviously takes it to a different level, and is fantastic. I mean, that's so cool.
I was about to say it does feel very, like you said, like playful, as opposed to like Temple DAO using crypto voxels. Like it's much different, and I like it. Like it's perfect for us, I think.
Yeah, it makes me want to explore it. It makes me not feel like overwhelmed by it. I think it really does embody, like from like on my side at least, what it's been like to be part of Beanstalk. So I think this is something we should, continue to build for sure and figure out how we can use it. Either internally, but definitely externally. I think it's a great way to attract new people to it, and we could use it as a way to really educate about the protocol in a playful way.
So one question, in terms of loading data feeds into, the space, can we kind of route API calls that return data in there and, kind of get you open this board, it tells you analytics, maybe even load a graph into there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not, right? Like, provided that there's, you can surface it on a web browser. Like, you could easily put Dune Analytics, right? Just embed the link to Dune Analytics. Where I think, it would be interesting to talk to the devs from GatherTown to understand more is like, yeah, can you put some webhooks into like into our systems and actually change the map dynamically? Like maybe you have a billboard or something that shows the current price, for example, or like the market cap or whatever it is, without needing to go into a browser. But for MVP, like you can do everything on a browser. You should be able to do it natively. Yeah.